Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I would like to join you in welcoming the Secretary of Commerce, the Honorable Wilbur Ross, back to the subcommittee. The Department of Commerce is vital in promoting job creation and opportunity for all, understanding our planet, ensuring fair trade conditions for our businesses and workers, providing accurate data to our nation's lawmakers and businesses, and assisting undeserved and economically distressed communities. Unfortunately, the budget request undermines several of these key missions. The President's budget for fiscal year 2019 requests $9.8 billion for the Department of Commerce, which is $573 million or 6.2% increase from the 2017 enacted level. This level of funding, while an increase from last year's request, endangers core missions at the department. For example, the budget once again very foolishly proposes the elimination of critical agencies and programs such as the Economic Development Administration and Manufacturing Extension Partnership, or MEP, program. EDA is the only agency across the federal government that focuses exclusively on economic development in economically distressed areas around the nation, while MEP program equips our small and medium-sized manufacturers with the resources needed to grow and to thrive. It is estimated that for every $1 of federal investment, the MEP National Network generates $17.90 in new sales growth for manufacturers and $27 in new client investment. In short, this program enhances the productivity and competitiveness of small and medium-sized manufacturers and creates well-paying jobs while reducing our trade deficit with other countries. It is also an agency with strong bipartisan support in Congress, which demonstrates how politically tone-deaf this proposal is. Another agency that is severely cut by more than 70% is the Minority Business Development Agency. This agency promotes the growth of minority-owned businesses and helps them compete in the world economy, and it is the only federal agency with this focus. The budget also proposes a $43 million cut to the U.S. Commercial Service and calls for the closing of 35 posts overseas and 10 U.S.-based export assistance centers. This program supports and creates American jobs by helping U.S. businesses and workers to export more products. These budget cuts, if enacted, will hurt small businesses, workers, and economically distressed areas. In a different area, the President's budget severely undermines NOAA's mission by decreasing its funding by more than $1 billion, a more than 19% decrease. In particular, the budget proposes to zero out funding and targeted NOAA grants and programs that support coastal and marine management research and education benefiting industry, states, and local stakeholders. The regional coastal resiliency grants, for instance, ensures that our states and communities are prepared to face changing ocean conditions, from acidification to sea level rise, as well as major catastrophes. We need to make sure that we need to help our coastal communities to be more resilient in the face of climate change, and we must allow our marine research programs to continue that's necessary for America's economic and environmental health. I am particularly concerned about the status of preparations for the 2020 census, which is behind in schedule and has been underfunded. There are major issues that are still unresolved that will impact the rollout and response process, including a lack of permanent leadership at the Bureau, fears that we have not sufficiently tested in urban and minority language communities, and a need to quickly ramp up outreach in traditionally undercounted areas. I am also deeply troubled about a highly political request that the Department of Justice made to the Department of last December, asking the Bureau to add a question on citizenship status to the form. This question was not previously considered or tested by the Bureau, nor was it included in last year's report to Congress on the topics to be included in the 2020 census. Including such a question, would drive response rates down in minority and immigrant communities, increasing costs and harming accuracy. Unfortunately, this request seems purely partisan, as evidenced by yesterday's email from the Trump campaign attempting to fundraise off this very issue. It is also important to note that none of the affected communities asked for this question to be included in the 2020 census. Congresswoman Meng and I wrote to you in a letter earlier this year and made these points to you. I look forward to hearing more from you on these issues. There are many, many other issues that we have to discuss, Secretary Ross, but understand that our desire is to make the department respond more efficiently and more properly. It is never to be adversaries unless we see real harm being done. But we are worried, very worried, on this side about the census asking questions that will undermine the count rather than build the count up to where it should be. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.